Greetings, everyone. My name is Anna Wheatley-Scabriel, and it is my pleasure to welcome you today to this Virgin Islands Humanities Showcase in celebration of Virgin Islands History Month. While it would be wonderful for us to all be in person together, and that's certainly a disappointment, I do have to say that one of the silver linings of this otherwise cloudy time is our ability to gather virtually. We had almost 100 people register for this event from around the territory, the United States, and most likely the world. And it's really beautiful that we've been brought together by a love and appreciation of Virgin Islands culture and history. We have an exciting set of presentations for you today. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump right into the agenda. So what you can expect today is we will have some brief welcome remarks and some background on these grants and projects. We will have project presentations from 16 grantee projects. We will do a question and answer discussion period, a special announcement that we have regarding additional humanities funding, and finally closing. With that, I'm going to turn it over to CFVI President Dee Bacher-Brown, who will give welcoming remarks from CFVI.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much. It's such an honor on behalf of CFVI to welcome you to today's Virgin Islands Humanities Showcase. And as Anna said, we are so excited to be celebrating Virgin Islands history in this way. This is the first time that CFVI has been able to provide such significant support for humanities projects. It's been a wonderful journey for CFVI to partner with so many organizations and individuals who are doing such important work in the humanities, sharing the rich and varied history and the culture of our Virgin Islands. I'd like to express my gratitude to the National Endowment for the Humanities for the funding support. Also to the 22 grantees who shared their talents, their commitment, and their passions. And also to the extended community that helped make all of this possible. Many of you have joined the Zoom today. Thank you so much for being with us. On a personal note, I would like to say how much I appreciate all that I have learned from my colleagues in the humanities. You really have enriched my life and the lives of so many others. Thank you so very much. In July 2020, CFVI announced more than $400,000 in grants. Some of the work has been completed, some is still a work in progress, but all of them are treasures that CFVI is honored to share with you today. So let's get on with it, but one more thing before I go. I'd like to introduce you to Karen Kenton. Karen is the director of the Office of Federal State Partnerships at the NEH. She's also an executive producer, she's a professor. I'm gonna leave that to you to Google her and find out the many different talents of Karen. But it was Karen who in August 2019 sent an email which led the way into this partnership and to what we have today with our showcase. So thank you, Karen. Thank you to all of you. So much appreciation.
Thank you, Dee. That was lovely. And thank you, Anna. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to join you for today's Humanities Showcase in celebration of the Virgin Islands History Month. All of us at the National Endowment for the Humanities are grateful for our partnership with the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands. NEH is a major funder of humanities programs in the United States. 40% of the agency's annual appropriation goes directly to the states and U.S. jurisdictions in the form of general operating support grants to humanities councils. As the agency's interim partner in the U.S. Virgin Islands, CFVI is helping NEH advance knowledge and understanding of the humanities, increasing public awareness of and access to the humanities, and enhancing the cultural life of the U.S. Virgin Islands. CFVI is well known and well respected for its impactful grant making that reaches across the islands. I'd like to express sincere appreciation to CFVI for swiftly awarding CARES Act funding to help stabilize cultural organizations and to retain and create jobs in the humanities. President Biden recently signed into law the American Rescue Plan. NEH received $135 million, and we will again turn to CFVI to assist with awarding those vital funds. More details to come. I'm so pleased to see the range of cultural organizations that have received NEH awards through CFVI and the wide array of humanities projects made possible by these awards. I'm looking forward to learning more about all of these projects today, and I wish all of you the very best on the work ahead. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Karen, for being with us today. And I know you have several other colleagues and members of the NEH team that are here as well. So thank you all for joining, and a special shout out to you and your team. So as has been alluded to, we were first approached by NEH in August of 2019, and we were invited to apply into a cooperative agreement with NEH to administer funding in the amount of over $400,000, including some funding that came directly from the CARES Act to support humanities organizations that were struggling in the wake of COVID. CFVI answered that call in an effort to ensure that critical resources were available to Virgin Islands organizations. Next slide. And 1 year later, we had awarded over $400,000 to about 22 projects. You can see the full list here. And all of these slides will be available on our website following this, as well as a recording. So without further ado, we're going to start to get into the presentations. I did want to share this quote on the definition of humanities that I found very helpful, especially for the Virgin Islands projects. So the humanities are disciplines of memory and imagination, telling us where we have been and helping us envision where we are going. And I couldn't think of a better descriptor to lead us into the presentations, which covers such a wide span of projects and topics. And I'm just very excited for you to hear from all of them. So we're going to go ahead and get into our first presentation, which is from one of our individual grantees, Priscilla Hintz. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Priscilla.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Priscilla. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, good afternoon. My presentation is about the digitization, cataloging, and repatriating of the Bernie Kemp collection and archives, St. John, U.S. Virgin Islands folk art. I have to first start by talking about Dr. Kemp, Bernie, as I affectionately call him. Bernie lived on St. John for 18 years in the late 80s and early 90s. During that time, he amassed a collection of baskets, folk art, and photographs. Dr. Kemp is a researcher and an economist, and his passion throughout his career has been the economics of arts and crafts, with a principal focus on the high-end craft market. So during his time here in the St. John in the Virgin Islands, he was able to meet a lot of the crafts people throughout the territory, but particularly here on St. John. And along with his friend, St. John cultural bearer, Mr. Guy Benjamin, Dr. Kemp interviewed artists, basket makers, East End residents, and mapped out our ancestral families, occupations, and folk traditions. These interviews and maps are documented in the collection, along with hundreds of photographs of basket makers, folk artists, tradesmen, and the East End community in particular. In 2019, Dr. Kemp, who is now 93 years old, expressed to me, and this is making a long story short, he expressed to me that one of his greatest desires before the end of his life is to see his St. John folk art collection and papers repatriated to St. John and made available to the public. He asked me to be the curator and steward of the collection, and I humbly accepted. Last year, I was able to travel to Dr. Kemp's home in South Carolina to retrieve the collection. And when I say that Dr. Kemp was passionate and loved the history, the culture, the people, the artistry of St. John, he slept with it beside his bed. When I arrived at Mr. Kemp's home, his collection was right next to him where he slept every evening. Following the principle of original order, I properly documented the collection as Dr. Kemp had it in his home, and then I was able to transport the collection to Maine. Due to post-hurricane conditions, as we all know, and the lack of adequate archival storage space in the Virgin Islands, I chose to temporarily house the collection in a temperature-controlled space in Maine, where I have some family ties, and that is where the collection is currently housed. Right now, I am currently in the phase 1 of the archival and processing of the papers. And I'm being assisted by historian David Knight Sr. We are currently arranging, describing, and creating necessary finding aids for the papers and the photographs in the collection. And this will help with the future digitization and access to the BK collection. Go on to the next slide. Thank you. The second phase will be the continued digitization of the baskets and folk art collection will be professionally photographed, and the papers and all the photographs and documentation will be put together in a catalog for educational outreach and accessibility of the entire Bernie Kemp collection. The catalog printing will further provide some historical context and images that will support the dissemination of the educational outreach and accessibility of the BK collection. My hope is to create a catalog that will be able to be distributed to all our schools and libraries, so people who are interested in learning more about the collection can have access to it. And then my future hope and my goal is to eventually repatriate the collection once an adequate archival storage facility has been identified. And it is the goal of Mr. Kemp and myself to ensure that this collection comes back home. I suggest for many of you who are interested in learning more about the collection, Dr. Bernie Kemp does have his own website. He has a video describing all the baskets in the collection in great detail. You can reach the video and the website at berniekemp.com. All the photos currently in this collection are photos that were taken by Dr. Herb Lewis from the Department of Anthropology at Madison, Wisconsin around the 1950s. International photographer based on St. Croix, Fritz Henley, which many of you may know, back in the 40s. Photographer Jordan Provost, who was here in the 80s, and of course, photographs by Dr. Bernie Kemp himself. When Bernie reached out to me and spoke about his collection, he was so passionate and wanting this collection to come back home, and he has instilled that same passion in me. I did not realize to the extent of the collection. I just thought there was just some baskets, but Dr. Kemp has container loads of cultural material, oral histories, interviews by various craftspeople, and particularly people of the East End of St. John. So I'm very excited to be able to facilitate the collection for the future of the Virgin Islands historical patrimony. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Priscilla. A very exciting project. And next we will hear from All Saints Cathedral School.
Good afternoon. I am so sorry. I can't seem to get the video on. It says my host has stopped it. Okay, here it is. All right, good afternoon. My name is Ardrina Scott Elliott. I am the Development Director at All Saints Cathedral School. And we were very excited to get grant funds for the maintenance of our cultural relevance. We used those funds to get our children ready for VI Cultural History Month, which of course is in March. We are around 93 years old, and so of course we've been celebrating VI cultural history for all of those years, but we wanted to do something a little bit different this year. The children were back in school. We actually came back live in October, and we fortunately have been very, very lucky to have had no outbreaks of COVID on campus, for which we're very, very excited and happy. And so the children had really gotten a little bit disengaged with each other. It's very, very hard for them to socialize while trying to do academic studies over the computer. So we thought, let's get them a little bit more involved. So the grant enabled us to actually bring in instructors to teach the children to do bambula dancing, quadrille dancing, and to learn how to tell our cultural stories. So if we can advance a slide, I just kind of like to show you some of what we did that day.
Good afternoon to all, and welcome to All Saints Cultural Afternoon Extravaganza. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we are not able to have the entire type of celebration that we always do. But we are so happy this afternoon that we have something new that we can demonstrate for you for our cultural experience. We have with us this afternoon our bambula dancers, and we also have our quadrille dancers, and there is also going to be storytelling, and that is something that's different for our students. Community that does not know its history is doomed. So we want to make sure that our students know from whence they came and the types of historical things that have actually helped to form and shape the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Okay, and so that was Mrs. Searle, our head of school, bringing forth the welcome remarks. If we can go on to the next slide. Okay, these are our okay, we can go on. That was our 4th and 5th grade students, learning the bambula, which was taught to them by some students from the University of the Virgin Islands. And so we were very, very appreciative for the time that they made available to teach the students. And again, we normally have groups come out to perform to entertain our students. So it was really, really nice for them to learn the dance so that they can not only entertain themselves, but they entertain their fellow students and we start to get them ready for years to come where they are able to teach and maybe continue to entertain as well. The next part of that segment was storytelling, and we have here our third grade students.
So once it's this time, she really got to get in there, and she has to rub and rub, and then she look at her and she's okay, good, they clean, woo. So she stand up, and she was hungry, her belly was balling, and she went again. Akaya, akaya, akaya. So Miss Cayenne, what you think happened when she went back to Anansi's house?
Anansi was already eating all the food. Anansi had tricked Akaye.
So when she looked on the table, the dumb bread was gone. The Johnny cake was gone. We remember them good Johnny cake we had today, right? Yeah. The Johnny cake was gone. The dumplings was gone. And then Nancy was sitting there with a big old belly. And then Nancy was like,
okay, we can go on. And then we had our sixth grade students who were involved with the quadrille dance. We had two gentlemen from the community who danced with some of our local talented groups to come out and to conduct quadrille dancing instruction for our sixth graders, and here they are. That was so wonderful. And we chose the sixth grade to do that instruction because there was an even number of boys and girls. And one of the things that we really, really love about this particular class is the diversity within the student population. We have a great mix of different ethnic groups and religious groups. And so it was just really nice to see them come together and learn our cultural dance. And then, so those were the three segments of our performance. And if you wanted to see the full versions, you can do so at our website, www.allsaintsvi.org. The last segment there with Mr. Arnold, our assistant head of school, was just to bring some general remarks regarding the VI Cultural Day activity and to thank the CFVI. And also, I guess, indirectly Karen, if we can let Mr. Arnold bring forth his remarks.
We want to give a big shout out to our project coordinator, Mrs. Ardrina Scott Elliott, who's also our director of development and helped get the grant that made this happen. And that brings us to, we couldn't have done this without the support of the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands, who helped sponsor this event. Help expose our students to these wonderful cultural activities. So on behalf of All Saints Cathedral School, Mrs. Serow, our head of school, we want to thank everyone, and it's been a beautiful Virgin Islands History Month, and we wish everyone well. Thank you.
All right, so again, we say thank you, and we had such a wonderful time, and the students were very, very excited, and we would like to keep this going on because culture is just not about a month and not about a day. It's about every day, all the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ardrina. I have to say this brought back some wonderful memories of my time at All Saints as a student. All that's missing is the maypole, so maybe that will be in the future. Next up, we have a presentation from Center for Educational Growth. My apologies. Next up, we have a presentation from the Boys and Girls Club of St. Thomas St. John and Miss Jackie Brown.
Good afternoon, all, and thank you for being here. And I wish to extend thanks to the CFVI Community Foundation for allowing us this grant and the time to do our presentation. In alignment with CFVI Humanities Showcase, Boys and Girls Club open our doors to Virgin Islands history and cultural heritage, the legacy of cultural resources and intangible attributes to our territory that was inherited from past generations, particularly the product of human activities. Members visited our true heritage and our cultural process that engages with acts of remembering that works. Create ways to understand and engage with the present. We looked at the words of the Virgin Islands famous historians like Aldelbert Bryan, Gerald Gurley, Marion Moorhead, Wayne Taxman Adams, Jane Emanuel, and many, many others for information about our culture and way of life from the past and now the present. In doing so, it gives honor towards our origins and our proximity of belonging. It didn't allow the tragedy of slavery to destroy. This is a real tribute to our tendency to hold on to our acquaintance to what has made us the great people that we are, of the cradle of civilization, Africa. We live by living our culture together, grow and develop as one. Here is our story highlighting various experiences reflecting our US Virgin Islands, diverse heritage, traditions, history and relevance. Here we have Mr. Russ Ito, who is demonstrating to our youth a coal pot, a commodity used many, many years ago, and the yaba pot. It is very seldom used now in our modern society. However, it has brought a lot of history and understanding to our heritage. The next photo shows storytelling, where Mr. Ito is telling stories of past ancestors and the heritage of our Virgin Islanders. The next one demonstrates artistries on tables that were handmade and used now to be sold to locals and tourists as well. And they students in the background are also getting lessons on some of the dances. This photo explored the world's butterflies are flying again. These 4 students, they are the winners of a butterfly competition that we had, which they had to write their own stories and illustrations, which is now past, present history. This photo demonstrates way back how our local traditions were. And our students, they learn the art of cultivating seeds and growing them and how to reap the products. In addition, they learn the art of pepper making bottles, honeys, how to reap the honeys and, put their products out for sale. In a cross-generation of empowerment, this photo illustrates the Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Inc. in an effort to demonstrate a leadership forum for young African American men. This forum showed to be very successful in teaching our kids how to be empowered and how to pursue meaningful employment. Our next upcoming event highlights women of stature in our Virgin Islands history. This event was yesterday, March 26th. It was held from 3 p.m. until 5 p.m. here at our facility in the Boys and Girls Club, Oswald Harris Court. Our presenter, Ms. Monica Bradford, she held a forum to commemorate women of the Virgin Islands history. That presentation was very successful. In addition, students actually made history and created their own culture and heritage and this event will be archived to be presented for many years in our future. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to have future in touch in history. By capturing their creative expressions, the club members can tell the future story. We are using each experience to have members learn more about our diverse heritage, traditions, history, and their own essential relevance. Boys and Girls Club can be contacted through our phone number 340-725-6540, my cell 340-244-7780, and our website www.bgcusvi.org. And we are also on Facebook at BGCSTTSTJ. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jackie. What an exciting opportunity for all of the students. And I know there's even more that they're doing that you weren't able to fit into this presentation. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a video recording from Ms. Sandra Cannon with Center for Educational Growth, as she was not able to be with us today, but we will play the recorded video.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandra Cannon, and I'm the director of the Center for Educational Growth. We are a virtual online school that gives students an alternative in learning with technology. I'm here today, I'm excited because I'm here today to tell you about and show you the talents of our students who participated in our enrichment program, our after-school enrichment program, funded by the CFVI program and the Humanities. Transforming literature into art expressions was created to provide a unique learning experience aimed at improving students' reading and writing skills through art. The program blends aspects of classical art practice, creative writing, poetry, and art history to produce an educational experience.
Okay, bear with us for a minute. We'll try to get it to continue playing for another moment. And if not, as I mentioned, all of the slides will be posted to our website, so you would be able to go back and watch the video at your leisure.
Creative writing, poetry, and art history to produce an educational experience that builds college readiness skills while understanding the importance of art and culture. In our first session, we had our students read Bully, a book series published through Townsend Press Corporation. After reading portions, students were tasked with creating an artistic piece inspired by the series.
Okay, I think,
In our second session, we took it further by adding cultural elements to our reading and art. We read a series of West Indian books by Lynn Joseph and author Richard Schroeder. Again, students were tasked with
okay, so these are the pros and cons of the virtual world, but in the interest of having a smooth presentation, we'll go ahead and skip to the next one, but I will be sure to send out the link to the presentation to all of you who are participating if you used your email to register. Thank you so much, Sandra, for sharing your video, even though you were not able to be with us in person. So next up, we're going to hear from Coral Bay Community Council.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting us today. I'm going to share with you a project that we're just getting started on that we're pretty excited about, which is that we been given through one of these humanities grants an opportunity to prepare the national and local historic register applications for 2 historic schoolhouse properties in Coral Bay and East End, St. John, that are very important to the people who grew up here and to their ancestral memories. For the last couple of decades, we've talked about working on something to preserve the 2 historic schoolhouses, and yet nothing had happened. And so seeing this grant opportunity spurred us on to start the process of protecting them by making sure that we got all of the history recorded down in an official way. Next slide, please. As an overview, the goal here is to provide recognition and protection for these 2 important historical and cultural places on St. John. We have just very recently hired Kurt Marsh Jr. as a consultant to prepare the applications for the National Register and to collect all of the historical pieces into one place. And these will be put up in a cloud and then on our website, and also with some presentations on the website. And we're happy to share those with various archives that would like to hold them there too. There will also be some public outreach, and we'll work our way through the pandemic and so forth to get the oral histories, photos, and artifacts. And they're already coming in, which is really excited when people have been sharing their pictures of themselves and their parents going to these schools. The first one is the Coral Bay School, which most of you have not heard that name because it quickly became the Benjamin Franklin School in the 1940s and was later renamed as the Guy H. Benjamin School. And the second one is the East End Schoolhouse. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of the Coral Bay School when it was I believe the Ben Franklin School. And then shortly after this picture was taken in the 1960s, they built many of the other buildings on the campus. And unfortunately, the whole school was closed in 1914. And Hurricane Irma devastated the rest of the campus, but left the historic schoolhouse largely intact. So we're very excited to try to use this opportunity to encourage that the schoolhouse be rebuilt now to be an historic cultural center here in Coral Bay that is at the entrance to our community and therefore would serve as a welcome center to everyone coming into our community where it is. Next slide, please. And this is the East End Schoolhouse that many of you may know as Lieutenant Governor's residence, which was completely blown away in Hurricane Maryland and has sat as with the original structure only, not the structure that was built around it since that time. And so this is a small structure on a hill out in East End. You can see one of the classes in the 1950s there beside that. This may be an earlier picture. I'm sorry, that probably 1930s in this picture. And then, of course, a historic postcard from that era of a community gathering in the early 1900s in that bay. And for Coral Bay, people here all together coming to the beach next to this historic schoolhouse and having a community gathering is something that has continued through the generations with on St. John, and is an important part of our remembrances of the good times in the past. Thank you. Next slide. So if anyone has interest in this study or has some memories they'd like to share with us, please do email us or call us on the phone that is here. And we also have a website, the Coral Bay Community Council, which is easy to find, which has more information on getting in touch with us. And we look forward to some of you bringing your memories to this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. It's an exciting project, and I know that school holds a special place in the hearts of many folks on St. John. Next up, we will have a video recording from Angela Golden Bryan with the Fireburn documentary. She was not able to join us today, but we will share the trailer to this very exciting documentary, which is actually already winning some prizes at film festivals around the world.
One of the key things with learning about the Fireburn is knowing about the resilience and the strength of the ancestors of this space that we call St. Croix.
We have to go to court to have the VI history being taught in our school. And people without a knowledge of itself is like a tree without its root.
Who these people were, what gave them that fire, what was said to them from their ancestors that made them still want to stand strong and says, I'm gonna fight no matter what.
They were freed in 1848 by their own accord, and by 1878 they were still enslaved in a condition tied to the plantation system that is defined as serfdom. Very similar to also Europeans, but they're serfs and they're black.
There was anger, there was rightful indignation, and there was rage, but it was very directed. Throughout the West African region, you find the tradition of queens in the villages. The queens would be those women that were revered for their leadership role.
There were a bunch of young ladies, young women that decided that they were going to take things into their own hands.
They burned down the factories. They burned down the way that the money was made.
It was a selfless act. They knew the consequences of doing this.
It's a revolution. She is responding to you. It is the end. We have had it. It is time for an action call.
Great. So as I mentioned, that documentary is actually being shown at film festivals right now. And I know that she's also working on figuring out how to make available for local presentations. So you can email her. You can also follow them on Facebook for updates. And I believe they have a web presence as well. Next up, we have a presentation from Friends of the VI National Park.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope that you can hear me and see me clearly. I'm so honored to be a part of this group today. Friends of Virgin Islands National Park supports the cultural and resource protection in Virgin Islands National Park. And this grant was specifically to help us forward conversations about what it means to preserve cultural heritage in the Virgin Islands and to help our park and our organization follow best practices. And I'll click to the next slide here. I have two co-presenters that I'm hoping will be able to join me today. Virgin Islands National Park, located on St. John, is our partner, and we work hard to present them with the expertise, resources, and financial support that they need to be the best that they can be for all visitors. And so without further ado, I would like to share the two partners that we worked to incorporate into this grant. Stephanie Geyer-Stevens is the founder of a project called Outer Voices, and we have Dr. Hadia Sewer representing the St. John Co. And so I will pass over to Stephanie, and we'll hear from her about her project on the next slide.
Thanks so much, Tonya. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm only slightly blown away by the amazing diversity and impressiveness of the grantees that have presented before me. I feel completely honored to be in this mix. So thank you to the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands National Endowment for the Humanities and the Virgin Islands Humanities Council, of course, for supporting our work in collaboration with the Friends of the Virgin Islands National Park. I'm executive producer for a nonprofit media team called Outer Voices. You can find us online at www.outervoices.org. What we're doing is we're creating an audio tour of the Virgin Islands National Park and of the island of St. John. The speakers within the tour will be exclusively St. Johnians. So St. Johnians will be the ones to speak their own stories of their island and of the land that's within the park boundaries. So the way that we're doing this is we're conducting interviews with a number of St. Johnians, and we started several months ago. Our next round of interviews will be between mid-April and mid-May. So the stories so far that have been shared in our interviews have included memories of growing up on St. John, anecdotes about the island from years gone by, folk tales, and other stories, historical and current. Our next round of interviews will broaden the scope. It'll be a multi-generational group of speakers, storytellers who will be involved. And that idea, I think, is really exciting to everyone. The main idea behind this is to offer people who are coming to the island of St. John for the first time an opportunity to hear about the island from St. Johnians themselves. For many people who come to the island, including myself when I arrived for the first time 7 years ago, there was no presence at all from St. Johnians. I didn't know any St. Johnians. I didn't know how to learn anything directly from the people from the who lived on the island itself, and it took me some time to find out how to do that. And I feel, and I think it's a shared sentiment by many people, that the people who should speak about a place are the people who are from a place. And so that's the goal of the project. We also hope to offer to St. Johnians that their stories are the ones that are heard first and foremost. And in the process, we hope that we offer a possibility for greater respect for the island and for its people. Thanks very much. And I'll turn this over now to my colleague, Dr. Hadia Sewer. I'm hoping that, oh yeah, you got her online. Terrific. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and learn about everyone's fabulous work. I am Hadia Soor, a research fellow at Stanford University and also the president and co-founder of St. John Co., the St. John Heritage Collective. And so at St. John Co., we aim to preserve history, identity, and culture of St. John's people through careful attention to land rights and racial decolonial and environmental justice. And so, with support from the Friends of the Virgin Islands National Park and the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands Humanities Grant, we're hosting a series of panel discussions that explore how scholars, artists, and community organizers in the territory interface with the national park to grapple with questions related to conservation, sustainable development, disaster capitalism, and environmental racism. So we will host 3 events in the series, which will be aired on WTJX. The first will be in April, and it's on reimagining Keneal Bay. We're also hosting a July panel that aims to commemorate Emancipation Day, and it's titled Virgin Islands Creole, Exploring the Relationship Between Language, Culture, and Freedom in the U.S. Virgin Islands. This will be followed by a November panel commemorating the Hamilton-Jackson Day, and this one will be titled Small Islands in the Anthropocene, Environmental Justice and the Arts in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Each of these exploring the relationship between environmental justice, arts, freedom, and culture for us Virgin Islanders. Next slide. And so our panels really aim to continue the work that we've done thus far. And so in the past, St. John co-assisted Dr. Gilbert Sproul, Mr. Sili Adeyemi, and other organizers of the Fortsburg Historical Tour with archiving the tour so that future generations of Virgin Islanders can have the historical information regarding 1733 that's currently being shared by our griots. And next slide. And we also previously hosted a panel discussion on freedom in the Virgin Islands, which included Dr. Marilyn Krieger and Professor Chanzira Kahina Davis as panelists. So at St. John Co, we're really pleased to continue to be able to facilitate these spaces for education around crucial issues about our identity, as well as our past, present, and future directions as Virgin Islanders. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to do so with Friends of the Virgin Islands National Park and the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands support. So thank you. And it's wonderful to be here with you all today.
Great. Thank you so much, Tonya, Stephanie, and Hadia. I am really looking forward to that series and very excited about the work that you're doing. So next up, we have a video presentation from Good Hope Country Day School.
Greetings. This is William Bugg, head of school at Good Hope Country Day School in St. Croix. Diversity is the essence of our island and the joyful reality of our country and our world. Diversity is also the present and the future of Good Hope Country Day School. At GHCDS, diversity brings us rich experiences and fresh ideas every day. At GHCDS, students of many races, ethnicities, languages, religions, and cultures learn and grow together. Exposure to the ideas and perspectives of people different from oneself propels each of our students to become a better communicator and problem solver. It opens dialogue and promotes creativity. It fosters empathy and respect. The enormously positive value of diversity and inclusion is St. Croix's greatest strength and our world's greatest need. That's why it is essential for GHCDS to prepare our students to be the change they wish to see in our multicultural and enormously complex society. It starts in our classrooms with our students and our teachers. Thanks to the generous assistance of the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands, GHCDS developed a cultural and diversity education plan that fosters a deep appreciation of our island culture and the importance of diversity in our community, region, and world. Our plan includes building a resource library, developing a culturally diverse music collection, expanding immersive experiential opportunities in Caribbean culture, enhancing professional development opportunities, and launching a guest speakers program. The island is our classroom, the world is our responsibility is GHCDS's new mantra, which was developed by our faculty and officially adopted by our Board of Trustees last year. This mantra is our marching orders. It constitutes a golden thread that runs through our curriculum from nursery to high school. As a school, we are committed to being fully engaged in our island community. Our teachers are making the island an integral part of our curriculum and utilizing it as an important classroom space. Our students are learning the essential value of service to others. They are empowered to better their island and the world, as our mission statement says. The Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands grant allowed us to create immersive experiences for our students. Under the instruction of GHCDS alum and VI Culinary Ambassador Ralph Moda, the students in our middle school Caribbean topics classes explored the origins, history, and techniques of making our traditional pound seasoning using a wood mortar and pestle and good old elbow grease. There were days in which Mr. Moda's classroom smelled of amazing herbs and spices and rang out with the rhythmic sounds of the pounding and grinding of seasonings. Many of his students reported that as a result of the class, their families got together to make Crucian seasoning salt themselves. Another live class we offer is steel pan. Acclaimed steel pan musician Michael Belgrave is making sure that every one of our 5th through 8th graders has the opportunity to learn the basics of steel pan and perform together for an audience. This spring, our high schoolers also had the opportunity to take an elective course in steel pan. Our lower school students are also gaining the benefit of cultural and diversity education. Our 4th graders learned the history and stories of Mokojumbis, after which they created their own Mokojumbis as artworks. We have many more plans in the works, including quadrille dance, the study of indigenous plants, the exploration of VI agriculture and its history, and more cooking classes. Through the generosity of the Community Foundation in the Virgin Islands, we are building a diversity and cultural resource library for children from nursery to 12th grade, with books and media that represent and promote diversity and inclusion. We're also developing a culturally diverse music collection to enable our students to explore musical genres from St. Croix, the Caribbean, and the world. The collection is supporting all our students, allowing many to affirm their own cultural identities, while enabling everyone to develop important and positive insights about others. We all need mirrors and windows in the books we read and the music we listen to. The Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands grant allowed Good Hope Country Day School to provide inspiration in many colors and cultures for our students and teachers. Thank you for making a difference in the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Croix, and Good Hope Country Day School.
Okay, so thank you to Good Hope Country Day School. We have a brief presentation by Project Promise VI. However, they are not able to join us. So I'm just going to read the project description, and you can find more information about their program on their website and on their social media pages. So funding for this project will be used to support the development and implementation of a new humanities program under its Caterpillar Project Initiative for Opportunity Youth that focuses on the island's history, literature, agriculture, and natural resources, as well as economy, arts, tourism, and other cultural dimensions, culminating in a public mural of student vision boards in the shape of the island of St. Croix. So this gives you a visual representation of what they are aiming towards, and each of the sections will be completed by one of the Caterpillar students with the techniques that they're learning and their own unique style. So thank you to Risa for putting this together. And as I mentioned, you can go to their website to follow their progress. Okay, next up, we are going to hear from 10 Sleepless Nights, Inc.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to open up by saying these are some wonderful projects I've been listening to. I'd just like to also say congratulations to all the grantees, and also thank you to Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands for awarding 10 Sleepless Nights the funding to continue our Emancipation Day celebration. Normally, we always have a grand quadrille dance, either in St. Gerald's Hall or in the streets of Frederiksted. But due to the hurricane that damaged St. Gerald's Hall and due to the current situation of the pandemic, we had to change plans, and we had to kind of do something that we all accustomed of doing, which is showcasing our culture. And this here is a little different because it is an evolution of Kwelbe music. And we're going to go really deep into the origin of Kwelbe music, and also starting from the beginning, where we invited some African dancers. We're going to have some Bambula dancers. We even reached out to a group out of our neighboring island of Puerto Rico to come to St. Croix to perform the bomba, because in our research, we found the connections between the Virgin Islands Bambula and the Hispanic bomba. So bringing the group from Puerto Rico here to St. Croix will definitely have an opportunity to see the similarities, to see the jointness, and to learn about the history and how both of them was created and how both of them are definitely related in many, many ways. We're also going to have performances by the II Cultural Dance Company, who's going to be performing the local quadrille dance and also masquerading. We're going to have Music in Motion Dance Company of Higher Learning. They will be performing the Krujan Bambula. We have Mr. Willa Jan and his Guardians of Mokojumbi, who will be also performing the art of still dancing and Mokojumbi dancing. We can't forget we'll have Stanley and the 10 Sleepless Nights, who will be there performing and also demonstrating the different Kwelbe instruments and also the origin of the different Kwelbe instruments. And this entire presentation is really evolved around how Kwelbe music was formed. So we can't forget our history by going back and tying in our African roots in the African dance. From African dance, we had the Bambula and the Bomba, then we had our Cariso, and then the Kwelbe music is used in our quadrille dancing, and our masquerade beats are definitely involved in our Kwelbe music in many aspects. So this project is on July 3rd. It will be live on 10 Sleepless Nights Facebook page. It'll also be live on the Department of Tourism Division of Festival Facebook page. It will be also streaming live on the ear, the Vibe 103. I think I'm not gonna say, I may get it wrong, but it'll be on the Vibe live. So we're definitely going to make it accessible to our students in the public school, because it will be recorded. So we will be able to share it to the Division of Culture Director, Ms. Shalana Brown, where we'll be able to put it in the schools, and each school will definitely have a copy. So we would like to thank the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands for allowing us to apply for this grant and definitely giving us the opportunity to put on an event like this. And we have much more ideas, so be on the lookout for the 10 Sleepless Nights Inc. as we continue to celebrate. This year we celebrated 51 years of playing Kwelbe music in the Virgin Islands, and be on the lookout because we have about 51 more years left. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kendall. I think you're selling yourself short with the next 51. Hopefully it'll be, for forever.
Yes,
and of course,
yes.
I have to give the shout out to 10 Sleepless Nights for the music that we played at the beginning, as that was one of your group's songs.
Thank you very much.
Very
Thank
exciting
you.
project. Okay, next up, we will hear from University of the Virgin Islands and Professor Malik Sekou. Okay, Professor Sekou, I just need you to unmute, please, and start your video. Okay, it's possible. Oh, here we go.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I was spellbound holding on to my chair, so when you could hear me, I didn't know what to do. Can you see me too?
We cannot see you at the moment. I sent something that should ask you to start your video.
Okay, let me see. Can you see me now and hear me?
No, it's telling me that you will start your video later. And now you're muted. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay, I'll start again. Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
But I still cannot see you, but
Do you want me to continue still, or I can
yes,
continue?
go ahead. No
Okay,
problem.
yes.
Go ahead.
Again, I was spellbound. I was listening first to Priscilla, and when I heard Bernie Kemp, I jumped because he taught me economics 30 years ago. So I'm pleased that the Community Foundation and the National Endowment for the Humanities funded this Accessible Revised Organic Act of 1954 project. It will be the first of its type ever in the Virgin Islands. As everyone knows, the Virgin Islands has been in the middle of a discussion on whether we should create the sixth constitution. And in November, there was a referendum on November 3rd concerning whether we should allow this revised Organic Act to be the foundation of our new constitution. The referendum was an overwhelming success in which the people voted yes for this. And the project that we have seeks to take this revised Organic Act that is written in legal language in 1950s that has been also amended over the past 60-odd years, take that language, make it as simple as possible so that everyone can read it and appreciate what kind of system we have in the Virgin Islands. And so far we have done the necessary research to have an introduction, question and answer, and now we're in a process of finishing the legal analysis. We intend to have a draft available to the public no later than May, and we expect the publication to be completed no later than July. Our intention is to have a public education campaign around this very Accessible Organic Act. It will not quite be as cultural as Stan Lee or other participants in this Community Foundation project, but we expect that by no later than August, this document is in an e-version, it's electronic, as well as in a hard copy version. And we intend to go to every high school, every public school, as well as private school, and give them a hard copy, as well as have a website that's going to provide information for the public. We anticipate that this project will be a necessary step towards getting public buy-in to developing a constitution for the Virgin Islands, and thus take the Virgin Islands one step forward towards greater self-government, self-determination. We expect this project to be something that we can call a step towards political status, in a sense that we will have a necessary education campaign that prepares the public to decide whether or not we want to make a change towards whether it's statehood, independence, free association, or even keep our territorial status as it is. We expect that this education campaign will at minimum give us the necessary knowledge, necessary exposure to improve the Virgin Islands for the 21st century. Can you hear me, Anna?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And, folks, I expect could certainly contact you if they have questions. Go ahead.
And can I say that that's the most important thing? For those who are interested in giving us any advice, suggestions, you can reach me here at UVA at 340-693-1273 or at msekou@uvi.edu. That's msekou@uvi.edu. And let me know any suggestions or any inquiries about this project.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Professor Sekou. And while your project might not involve dancing or eating or singing or any of those things, certainly all of these projects do have some interconnectivity, and they're all, crucial as part of our appreciation and knowledge of our culture and history. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Next up, we will hear from University of the Virgin Islands University Bound Program. Ms. Rohan, you're muted. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hard act to follow, Dr. Sekou. Good afternoon again. My name is Rosalia Rohan, and I'm the director of the University Bound program at the University of the Virgin Islands. This program is a pre-college program for students who are interested in pursuing higher education. And on behalf of the students and staff of the University Bound program, I want to thank the Community Foundation for funding this project. Know your 340. Get to know your 340. Do you know your 340? That's the question that we've been posing to our students ever since we received the funding from the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands. Our university-bound staff believe that we have a responsibility to produce programs that's relevant to our students. We want to be sure that our students are engaged in their community, know who they are, know what they're about. All of our programs, dealing with this 340, we are posing to our students and challenging their technical skills, their cultural awareness, and self-identity. Next slide, please. Our present and futures are shaped by our history, and these histories are shaped by language. Our staff has been working with our students to create two parts of this program. That's not the slide that I was, yes, that's the slide. Yes. Our students have been working feverishly to put together two research projects. The first research project is, who is in my family tree? Our students want to know the members of their families. They want to be able to understand what their roots are. They're hoping to be able to understand the careers that their families have had and the contributions that their families made towards the community. So the first project would be to develop a family tree. The students are going to use templates, or they're going to use family tree software and their own artwork to create family trees. They are going to also put together family portraits, and the research will lead towards them creating collages and pictures of their families and understanding better what their family was all about. The second phase, they will research the history of streets and important places in the Virgin Islands. Streets and important places in St. Croix, St. John, and St. Thomas. They will choose, from their research, they will choose streets that are not important places, or they feel that don't shine a light on the strength of the local culture. And they will rename these streets based on their family history and other outstanding Virgin Islanders. After they've done the research, the students will then engage in producing a video that will showcase the students in the streets of the Virgin Islands, as I said, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, explaining the history of these streets, and then symbolically changing the name of these streets to be more representative of the USVI and its culture. Next slide, please. Okay, so thus far, what have the students learned? The students have expressed a lot of things that they were surprised about. The one that they said most affected them was the fact that VI history is not readily available. Like they don't find a lot of information about VI history on the internet or in books and magazines and so forth, as compared to other places like the mainland and other countries. So the challenge posed to them is, what can you do about that? The second thing that seemed to amaze them is the Virgin Islands being such a melting pot. They are amazed of the amount of people from the various Caribbean islands, Puerto Rico, the US, and even the Middle East. And so they are just curious to find out more about how different people within the community coexist. What is the challenge again for them? How can you help to preserve your culture? And then the third thing that they were really amazed about is the fact that the Virgin Islands have made such global impact. Global impact on the sports stage, music, doctors, medicine, scientists, politicians, and the list goes on. And again, the question to them is, where will you hang your hat? Where will you choose to stand? Next slide, please. One of the things that we found is that students learn so much by using games and how games enhance the learning process. So we have found that the Kahoot game is a wonderful game that the students tend to really gravitate to. They enjoy playing Kahoot. They use it to study. For example, they get into groups, and if they have a social study test coming up, they will pose their questions in the Kahoot. All the students within the group will pose their questions, and then they have to answer questions that each other pose. Now, our university-bound staff on St. Croix has developed their own Kahoot and their own VI history Kahoot. And it is on the website. You can get the exact VI history Kahoot by the UB staff by making contact with Miss Michelle Albany Crispin on St. Croix. And I will be posting at the end her information, contact information for myself to gain access to the Kahoot. It is something that we would like to share with other teachers so that they can put in questions in that Kahoot that Virgin Islands students can enjoy. So it would be one of the Kahoots that's specifically for Virgin Islands history. They will have different Kahoots. They're trying to do a Kahoot for local songs, poetry, and a VI quiz bowl. They want to expose our students to as much VI history as we possibly can. Next slide, please. This is a collage that the students have been involved in since we started this 340 project. And the students are placing it on this collage things, places, people that they feel represent them, speak to who they are, and have specific meaning to them in their culture. This will be a 6 by 7.6 foot collage that we're hoping to frame, and we're hoping to do one on the St. Croix campus of the University of the Virgin Islands, or the Albert A. Sheen campus, and one on the St. Thomas campus or the Orville Ken campus. We're hoping to have these displayed so that when our students, though they are not yet college students, when they come to campus, they could have a sense of belonging, seeing something that they have contributed to the university. Next slide, please. So pretty much by the time the students are finished with their project, we're hoping that our students will get to know more about their 340, and more importantly, what can they do to help to preserve their 340. We're going to be reaching out to other persons in the community. I've heard so many wonderful things this afternoon and see so many ways that we can contribute to, that persons can contribute to the project that we are doing. We are hoping to be able to collaborate with experts in VI history, various culture bearers, storytellers, persons who could introduce our students to the old time games, and to help this generation and the next generation to be proud to be Virgin Islanders. Thank you for your time, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rohan. I love the themes of responsibility and empowerment that you would be sharing with your students. And I think that the aspect of VI history not being accessible certainly feels like it aligns well with this very forum, because that's one of the things that all of these projects are trying to do, is make this information more accessible to a range of ages and venues. So thank you so much for participating, and I certainly expect that some collaboration might come out of this for you.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Okay, next up we have a video presentation by the VI Montessori School and International Academy, which is in partnership with League of Women Voters, USVI, and the video will be by Ms. Gwen Marie Molinar, and she's the president of League of Women Voters.
Greetings. I'm Gwen Marie Molinar, and I'm pleased to tell you about a terrific project of the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands in partnership with the Virgin Islands Montessori School and International Academy. The aim of this project is to correct Virgin Islands history and expand the American story of its suffragist movement by creating a 60-minute documentary entitled Our Story Will Be Told. It's a documentary on the Virgin Islands suffragists, the women through whose insistence Virgin Islands women finally got the right to vote in the mid-1930s. Their success came well after men were granted that right, and 15 years after most mainland women won that right to vote in 1920. But actually women of color did not fully receive that right until 1965. The struggle of the Virgin Islands suffragists was one in the face of pushback from local authorities. It's an interesting story indeed. Certainly, it's one that deserves inclusion in Virgin Islands history books, but in fact has gotten little, if any, attention locally or nationally. We hope then that our documentary will bring about that much needed recognition on the importance of what these local suffragists accomplished. Further, we aim to demonstrate to students how persistence for obtaining citizen rights can succeed when people speak out and take peaceful actions within the context of the law, and that success can be achieved by aligning with like-minded people, irrespective of gender, of color, of ethnic origin, or occupation, because that is how this right was won. It's a great story indeed. Now, the idea for this documentary arose within the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands, of which I'm honored to be president, as we were looking for ways to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, which in 1920 granted most women, not all, the right to vote. We collaborated with the VI Montessori School, who we saw as a great partnership in producing this documentary. We have also invited some members of the community to be part of the planning group. Aisha Morris, Nadine Machena-Ken, and Dr. Ruby Simmons-Sanderson, along with the League of Women Voters and the VI Montessori School. It is our intention to produce a documentary of such quality that it can be exhibited not only locally, but nationally as well. Further, we intend to make it accessible to all schools locally and to be shown on WTJX TV as part of its repertoire of local history videos. Exciting things have already begun to happen. First, under the leadership of VI Montessori School teacher Matthew Stocking, the 9th grade class has created a website in celebration of Virgin Islands History Month and highlights the accomplishments of Virgin Islands women. Secondly, we have already received an invitation from the USA League of Women Voters to exhibit our documentary at their national convention before their 700 chapters. And so that's very exciting for us. And thirdly, we were approached recently by attorney Tom Bolt, who is involved with the American Bar Association Library nationally. And he informed us that the ABA Law Library had developed a series of banners celebrating women's suffrage. And he was able to have the ABA modify the exhibit, which is a traveling exhibit, to include the Virgin Islands suffragist movement. So they did add another banner. And so now Attorney Bolt is seeking to bring the exhibit to the Virgin Islands. And he proposed an exciting idea that he exhibit the banners at the premiere of our documentary. And so we're exploring that as a possibility. In summary, we are very excited about our project, and we thank the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands for their support. In closing, I extend our best wishes to all the great projects that are supported by this NEH funding. The Virgin Islands is certainly about to be further enriched by these great programs. Thank you.
Okay, such wonderful comments and closing by Dr. Molinar as a way of transitioning us to our next presentation. And unfortunately, Mr. Gilchrist Sproul had to jump off. He's with the VI Museum Civic and Cultural Center, St. Thomas. But what I am going to do is read the project description. And he did say that he would be reaching out to me to provide further information on ways that the community can be engaged. So the funding for this project will be used to support a revival of the extinct Virgin Islands Dutch Creole language through collecting authentic conversations, songs, and folktales from the archives for presentation to all generations of Virgin Islanders as a series of animated films and printed and electronic texts, with a particular emphasis placed on reaching millennials and Generation Z as they seek ways to further deepen their awareness of their unique Virgin Islander identity. So that would be a perfect collaboration for you, Ms. Rohan, with your college students and about to be college students. Okay, with that, we will move on to our penultimate presentation from World Ocean School.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you see me and hear me?
Yep.
Great. My name is Kara James, and I am the program manager for the World Ocean School and the Schooner Roseway. It's great to be here this afternoon. There's lots of awesome projects taking place. So thank you, CFVI, for bringing us all together so we can celebrate all of the hard work that has been done. If you could go to the next slide, please. So we were thrilled to receive some funding from CFVI this season to continue our day programming aboard the schooner Roseway, which is that ship in the middle of your screen there. We're primarily based out of Christiansted, St. Croix, but if you're looking at the horizon at the right time, it's likely that you've seen our red sails sailing out in the water. But our day programming is very interdisciplinary. It's hands-on, place-based learning. And that's one of my favorite things about our program is that there's lots of stuff going on at once, but that makes the learning even more enriching. We do the same kind of routine every day with students from St. Croix, which is getting off the dock, going to set sail, and then rotating through a series of lessons. So that repetition makes students feel really empowered. So we're focusing on a lot of socio-emotional learning. While we're on board, some of the lessons that we rotate through involve history and humanities, which we'll talk about in a second, and STEM. So we talk about basic algebra as a way to measure the speed of the ship. We look at pulley systems as simple machines in action. We talk about buoyancy because the boat is floating. And we think that that place-based learning is a really enriching way for students to learn a little bit more about what they are absorbing in the classroom and make it interesting in real life. This year in particular, we partnered with the Caribbean Center for Boys and Girls from Christiansted. In a typical year, we work directly with the public schools and some of the private schools in St. Croix. But with schools being closed this year, we took a different route, but we were thrilled with how this partnership has worked out. And we look forward to working with them again next year. And we did a series of 8 educational and enrichment sails with these students. It was a series of 4 weeks with these students visiting us on Monday and Friday. Next slide, please. So this year, with the help of CFVI, we've been able to expand upon our curriculum a little bit. Our curriculum and our program is tried and true, but we've loved the encouragement to tie in some more history and humanities into our work with students. So the main overarching goals of our work with students on the island is community values. Because we're working together as a team in sailing, it's a really natural and organic way to talk with students about teamwork, communication, trust, and self-worth. So no matter what the lessons we're teaching, we're tying in those 5 community values in particular, along with 21st century resiliencies and socio-emotional skills to have those students learn something on board and take that home with them into their communities or into their classrooms. We already talked a little bit about the STEM work that we do, but this year we added and expanded our curriculum to be a little bit more broad in the history section. We talk a lot about Roseway's history on board, but we've expanded that this year. So we did that in a series of 3 lessons. The first one was kind of an overarching lesson that led into the following 2. That was called Doing History, and this is where students were exposed to historical documents and primary sources, all related to Caribbean history, and got to take a keen look at how to decipher these documents. Though that lesson transitioned into race as a social construct. So students were looking about learning about how race has been viewed over time, and also looked at how the flags, the street signs, the languages people are speaking around them help them place themselves of where am I in the world. And then the third lesson that we incorporated into our curriculum this year was the intersection of Afro-Caribbean history and maritime history. So that's a really interesting way for students to learn about their history on land, but also as they're learning these things in the ship, it kind of makes it feel a little bit more real to them. And within that lesson, they also learned about the geology of the islands and a little bit about the formation of the Virgin Islands as well. Next slide, please. It's been awesome to listen to all of your projects today. So one thing that we really love to bolster with World Ocean School is partnerships and relationships with other organizations. I can kind of already have some gears turning in my head about how some of us can work together to make learning more accessible to everyone. So Roseway is not physically in the Virgin Islands anymore. World Ocean School actually operates in New England in the winter, so she's sailing back up north as we speak. She's in Charleston, but World Ocean School is always in the Virgin Islands in body and spirit. So if you're interested in working with us, or if you want to come sailing with us next year, my information is on the next slide. But thank you, CFVI, for making this possible for us. We love working and engaging with students in St. Croix, and we really appreciate everything you've been able to make happen for us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kara. I love the experiential learning component and how the Roseway really serves as a bridge between the past and the present. It's very beautiful. And last but certainly not least, we have a presentation from the United Jazz Foundation and their Caribbean Music Institute.
Hi, good afternoon. Let me get my camera on. My camera doesn't seem to want to come on. Okay. Okay, can you see me now?
Yep, you're all set.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you everyone for all of your wonderful presentations. It's been a pleasure listening to all of the wonderful things that's happening in our territory. It's so amazing of the great work that's happening. My name is Dion Parson, and I'm the president of United Jazz Foundation. And I'm here to talk about our Caribbean Institute program that we initiated last summer in the midst of COVID, working with our students here in the territory and outside of the territory also. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, Caribbean Music Institute, we create a safe environment in which our young people of the Virgin Islands can share experiences, learn about their local heritage, culture, and find common ground with the broader world around them to blossom and become more confident as they strive to achieve their dreams. One of the things we were able to do was entice our students to participate in our presentation. We had a number of high school students. We have 40 high school students to be exact, and about 26 college students. So we ran 2 simultaneous programs at the same time. And our high school students, many of them were in the territory and some of them had to leave. We had students engaged with us on St. John, St. Croix, St. Thomas, Anguilla, Antigua, St. Martin, Atlanta, Georgia, Washington State, and the Netherlands. Believe it or not, we have students over in the Netherlands that had to transition from the Virgin Islands and go over there. So we were able to run a program collectively with all of those students through our Zoom format that we created. In the process of doing that, we were also able to engage our students in a level of technology that they've never done before, which was really, really good because, through necessity, you find ways to come up with different things. And every single one of these students was able to adapt immediately to our electronic and technical components that we had to deal with. So we were very, very excited about that. Especially our college students they were already engaging in college with electronic methods. So that was a really good thing for them to come and mentor the high school students in presenting electronics and technology into our presentation. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Hi, my name is Dion Parson, president of United Jazz Foundation. I'd like to take this time to thank you for your support of our Caribbean Music Institute, where we preserve our culture, we pass on cultural experiences, and we elevate our cultural heritage of the U.S. Virgin Islands. I'd like to also thank the National Endowment for the Humanities for the support of our Caribbean Music Institute during these challenging times. Our goal here as CMI is to elevate our underprivileged youth's aspiration and economic conditions through our music education programs, which teaches them music literacy. We have a number of recording programs. We have one-on-one mentorships and student-to-student mentorship. which enriches their lives. The tools that the students develop are great cognitive skills. This help to increase their math productivity. This helps their reading skills. This enhances their learning in other core subjects, stimulates advanced leadership and social skills, and all of these tools leads to better graduation rates within our territory and our school system. The outcomes of our humanity programs here at CMI help to self-empower our students. It awakens their consciousness and give them responsibilities towards each other in social skills and within mankind. All of this stuff helps to preserve and sustain our cultural and musical heritage within the Virgin Islands. Our Caribbean Music Institute is dedicated to elevating underprivileged youth's aspiration and economic conditions. Most of the students that we deal with are from single parent families. A lot of them have a number of brothers and sisters. They have economic challenges, and many of them don't even have their own instruments. So we were able to raise funds to provide instruments for some of these kids. We was able to raise funds to provide a DAW system. A DAW system is a digital audio recording system for all of the students to be able to record themselves and send their recordings into us so we could assess their growth as they learned the various subjects and practice and perform for the various projects that we had presented for them. This was really good because, again, in the face of all of these adversities, every single one of these students had to adjust to this new technology. And it took a while for us to get a lot of them, situated, but it was really, really effective by the end of the summer program to see all of these students working within that format. Some of the things that we studied and presented to the students in Caribbean Music Institute was our cultural heritage, our music, the history of our music, how it evolved. We studied the history of not only Virgin Islands music, Quail Bay music, the origins of songs like Fire Down There, Queen Mary, other local songs, Quail Bay songs. We also studied the music of our neighboring Caribbean islands, the origin of reggae, how it was able to come through R&B and became mento and became one drop and ended up being dancehall. These are the things that we were able to really, really work with the students effectively with. So we're very happy for that. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So the success rate of our program is really, really nice. The fact that every single student that comes to our program upon graduation and going into college, every single student have received a college scholarship, every single one. And we graduate on average of 4 to 10 students per year. Out of those students, 80% receive a full scholarship immediately going into college. And then another 10% of those students, once they're in college, then they advance to full scholarships. So our success rate of getting students into college on full scholarships has been really, really high. And we've been able to partner with a number of institutions to assist us in their needs. And we've been able to prepare our students to enter into college on a very high level and receive those scholarships. Okay. Next slide, please. So there are many tools for success that we've utilized within our Caribbean Music Institute, and I'd like to share some of them with you. The next slide, please. So from the theoretical standpoint, music theory is one of our most prominent foundation that we present. And this is a conversation that I've had with many music educators and the challenges that they've had in the school system, not having a one-on-one time with the students to actually teach them the theoretical component of music, which is the foundation of writing songs, the foundation of listening to songs, the foundation of following song formats, the whole process of how do we create music. That's our music theory fundamentals. So we spent a lot of time with our students doing that. And again, like I said, we not only cover our VI history and culture, but we cover the music from additional islands. We take the songs from the Bill Lamadas and the Lamada family. We study the music of Alton Adams, who was a U.S. military bandmaster. He wrote the VI March. We studied those forms. We've studied the music of Stanley and the 10 Sleepless Nights. We studied the music of the world famous John Lucien, who was a pioneer in jazz world from the Virgin Islands, and share that with the students so they can see the connection, the immediate connection within our culture and popular music of our time. Our fundamentals, technical skills, we make sure that every student that participates in our program have access to private lessons, one-on-one private tutelage on their instruments. And this is something that's not too, popular within our community, but these are the reason why our students are getting into college with full scholarships, because they have one-on-one mentors with our private instructors that can guide them on a daily basis to become more technically equipped and proficient on the instruments. Now, one of the things I was mainly excited about this summer was, again, because we were all virtual and we were able to purchase those DAW equipment, the interface for the students, we were able to set up a remote recording format for our students that was spread out all over the world. And as you can see in this photo here, we have Mr. Lake mentoring one of our students, Candice Lake, in our recording studio, recording one of our final projects. And it was really, really nice. This was the first time she'd ever been in a recording studio. So for many of our students, the exposure that they got through our Caribbean Music Institute was the first time they were ever able to participate with the nuances of being a professional musician. So that was very excited to see them participate on that level and to help them through that process. Okay, next slide, please. Our mentorship goes very deep. As you can see, I'm here giving a drum lesson to one of our students, Torian Martin, and all of the students, like I said, that participate has one-on-one private lessons. We also have apprenticeships and self-expressions of our culture. So the older students also mentor the younger students during these challenging times. We make sure to connect the younger students with the older students, and they have regular meetings, and they also have one-on-one sessions to talk about how they can work out the certain challenges that they have. So not only are we dealing with the music, but we're also dealing with the students' mental health, and we're dealing with their goodwill in passing on the information they've learned to the younger generation, and the younger generation talking to the older ones that have been through this process to help guide them through this process. So, because I'm running the program and a lot of the students are looking at me as Mr. Parson, we're now engaging the older students, the college students, to come back and help to assist in mentoring the younger students. So we're happy to see that process happen. Okay, next slide, please. So this is a perfect example of our mentoring program right here. We have world-class musician, Mr. Rashawn Ross, participating in one of our master classes. He came in one day and did a 2-hour masterclass for us on, everything from growing up in the Virgin Islands, playing with Jamba and Eddie and the Movements, how that was for him, for his transition to college, going to Berklee School of Music, to, coming out of college and trying to, make it in New York and, figure out his next moves. And then, he got his lucky break to perform with Dave Matthews Band and went on to have a very, very prominent and successful career. So these are the type of guidance that we share with our students. So you can see, Mr. Ross has given his perspective on being a musician to the students. And every couple of weeks, we would have mentors come in and talk to the students on that level. This picture shows our saxophone group at our Caribbean Music Institute up in Snow Pond a couple summers ago participating. So we enrich the students' lives with, before COVID, we were able to take them and travel with us throughout the nation, throughout the US, to get other experiences also. Next slide, please. Okay. Now that you've learned some more about what it takes to be an accomplished musician, the fundamentals of musicianship, the technical training on the instrument, the whole technology behind our recording process, and being able to, participate, especially in these challenging times of COVID, and be able to Zoom your music and all of the stuff. I would like to just let you know that every community member is a product of the environment. Therefore, our Caribbean Music Institute is a product of our community and a product of our environment, which is why our students learn the cultural history, learn who our traditional bearers are, and learn sustainable ways to keep our culture alive. They learn to create music in a really, really high qualitative way, and they become partners within our musical cultural heritage. Through the recording process, the students learn to express themselves. They gather great experience working with each other, working with our pool of mentors, working within the studio. They get community exposures to our performing concerts. They learn self-expression, self-confidence, and they participate in our apprenticeship programs. And at the end of the day, they are part of this whole archival process, which again takes us to the next level of sustainability within our culture and our cultural heritage here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Thank you.
So Dion, I'm just going to ask, would it be okay if we go to the final slide with the clip of the students? Because we do need to leave a little bit of time for question and answer.
Yes, that's sure. That would be great. I would just like to, can I say something before we go to the final slide?
Sure.
Yes. I would just like to let everyone know that the Caribbean Music Institute is, we're functioning right now. We have regular classes. The students are participating. We have our mentors coming in and our guest artists still coming in and working with the students. And we're happy to see the product, the progress that the students are making right now. So I'd like to thank, CFVI for this wonderful opportunity and the support that they have given us throughout the year to make this happen, and the National Endowment for the Humanities.
Great. Thank you so much, Dion. I know that we all wish we could hear the whole thing. And as I mentioned to you yesterday, when we post the video with the slides, we will post the whole video, which is about 4 minutes.
Sure. You're more than, thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. So that concludes our presentations, and we do have a few quick minutes for question and answer. I'm going to actually ask our tech team to advance me to the next slide. But those of you who have any questions, please use the question and answer feature along the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can also type them in the chat. But while you're getting your questions ready, I did want to make a special announcement, which is that we will be releasing a request for proposals tomorrow for 2021 funding. And we have up to $200,000 that is available from the National Endowment for the Humanities, specifically for the U.S. Virgin Islands, for projects that will advance U.S. Virgin Islands culture and history appreciation and exploration. So you can see here some information. We will send that out via our email list as well as local press. And you can also find that information on all of our social media pages. So with that, we're going to see if we have any questions that have come in. And while we wait to see, I also have to recognize that this has been quite a team effort and thank my colleague Beth for all of the work that she has put into this, as well as our tech team, Appreciation Moments, and Eric and Trevon. And finally acknowledge the rest of the CFVI staff that is, some are here with us and some are not. So thank you to Sean, Yuna, and Susan for being part of the team. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions come in, but I did have a question that I would ask to our panelists if anyone has something that they would like to share. I'm curious if there's anything that has surprised you or anything new that you learned in your own research and explanation while you were working on these projects that maybe you had not anticipated. So anyone who would like to share, just please feel free to unmute yourself and turn on your video.
Good afternoon, Anna.
Yes, go ahead, Audrina.
I haven't learned anything. I didn't learn anything in my own project, but in just listening to my peers in their presentations, I've learned so much more about VI history and things that are going on and things that have gone on in our community many, many, many thousands of years ago, and that continue to go on. And I am just so impressed. And so I just want to say thank you to them and to you, you know, for allowing us this format, this setting to get together and just hear all the wonderful things that people are doing.
Absolutely. And same here. It really has felt like we've gone on a journey over these past 2 hours and covered quite a wide range of projects and information. So thank you so much for highlighting that.
Dion here. One of the things that I learned, I learned how technically advanced my students were within, you know, putting a lot of this together. You know, we set up a number of classes to teach the students technology so we can be able to function. And especially the college students, I mean, they were so advanced that they were able to jump in and just say, oh yeah, we do it this way, we do it this way, and oh, we can combine. So we were able to accomplish so much in a very short period of time because our college students really were so advanced in presenting because they had already formed a network communicating with each other through Zoom and recording through the DAW processes, that it was amazing for us to get the younger students involved. And I realized that, you know, that the world is really so technically savvy. And so that was something that was new to me because I thought we were introducing, you know, a level of technology to find out that it was something that at least half our students was already engaged in on a very high level. So that was good.
Absolutely. Yeah, all of the pivoting has shown us the skills of others that are turning out to be very beneficial these days.
Yes.
So my team will tell you all that I am a stickler for time. And so I'm recognizing that we have about 1 more minute left. So again, I want to thank you all so much for being with us today. And I would like to turn it over to Dee to make any final comments.
Okay. think. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Dee.
Yeah, I think my video is not cooperating, but that's okay.
We can see you.
Oh, cool. I think I'm going to use, in the minute I have, a quote that came in through the chat from Catherine Mills, who is a member of CFVI's board and our chair of our grants committee. And she said, this has been a phenomenal afternoon. And I don't think there's any other way to say it. The presentations were just brought to life the projects that were so exciting on paper. They brought to life the history of the Virgin Islands. And they were teasers for just wanting to hear more about each of the projects and see more of this work happening. So thank you again to all of you for a beautiful afternoon, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Great, thank you.